Yes, we're at Tribeca Film Festival, and we're going to talk with Zachary Iscol, who has the movie Western Front. Thank you for coming, Zachary.
Thank you very much.
Now, first of all, tell us a short description of the film.
I fought in Iraq as a Marine in 03, 04, and part of 05. And I fought in Al Anbar province, which was the most violent part of Iraq. And the film is really, in the film, I go back to Iraq to confront some of the choices that I've made in combat. And when you're fighting a war amongst innocent civilians, that you can't tell the difference between them and the people that you're fighting, you find yourself in these positions, impossible predicaments, where you have to choose between protecting yourself, protecting your Marines, and possibly killing innocent people. And I bear that guilt. And I think I've made the film in the hopes that if people can learn from the mistakes I've made and the lessons I've learned over the last couple of years, then maybe they won't be repeated.
So when did you actually decide to make this film?
It's a great question. I never actually made a decision to make the film. I started off helping a friend make a film on Iraqi refugees, and then I loved what I was doing, and I sort of said, well, there's another story I really feel like I need to tell, and I need to go back to Al Anbar. And I just kept at it. And I don't think I ever made a conscious decision, though, that this is what I was going to do. It just
evolved.
Kept walking. It just evolved.
Yes, yeah. Okay. Essentially, the theme appears to be that we cannot always kill our way to victory, and that there's other routes that we need to take. The military needs to take. Do you believe that our military today understands what I call the lesson of Iraq, which is what your film is about?
I think, well, first off, I think modern war, has progressed to where, for nations like America, war has become much less dangerous for soldiers and Marines. I mean, when you look at casualty ratios. But it's become much more dangerous for civilians. In World War I, 10% of casualties were civilian. In World War II, it was 60%. Today's wars, it's 80 or 90%. And I think the U.S. military really grasps that when you kill innocent people, or even when you kill bad people or the enemy, you could end up creating more enemies, and then it's not effective. I think that the lesson of Iraq that the military and our government, that they don't grasp, is that a lot of what changed as a result of internal Iraqi politics that had very little to do with us. And I think that's sort of, we always like to think that America has this great ability to change the world. And I think when we look at the lessons of Iraq, we think, well, we learned that killing is not effective, and this led to these changes. But I think we rarely look at how the civil war and the sectarian violence shifted the map in Iraq, and how that led to a change in the situation.
Was the military supportive of your project?
Elements of the military were. There was, I think, as a whole, yes. I mean, there was never an interview that wasn't granted. People that I know, because I still have a lot of solid relationships with people, I think people were sort of skeptical, suspicious of what my motives were. But they were always, at the same time, they opened doors. If we wanted an interview with a general, we interviewed General Kelly. If we wanted an interview with some of the Marines I served with, they ensured that could happen. So the military was, surprisingly open.
And you basically dealt with the Marine Corps, right?
Almost exclusively.
Yeah. Okay. Were there any particular challenges that you confronted in making this film?
I think the biggest fear I had making the film was how the people who have been affected by the war would receive it. And, when you look at films usually have a bad guy. And one of the challenges we face is there's no bad guy in this film, really. There's Marines who are doing the best job they can in a shitty situation, and there's Iraqis who are, doing the same thing, or there's innocent Iraqis who are stuck in the middle. And I wanted to make a film that an Iraqi refugee who's in the film would be proud to have been a part of, and would say, this is an honest account of my experience, my feelings, and that a Marine who's served in Iraq would feel the same way. And I think that was a very challenging line for us to walk while remaining honest.
Okay, although your film's not about Afghanistan, do you see any of the same lessons playing out in Afghanistan, whether we have learned from Iraq or we haven't learned from Iraq?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that there's definitely less of an emphasis on killing in Afghanistan today than there was in Iraq when I was there in '04. I mean, in 2004, we were trying to kill and capture our way out of the insurgency. They're not trying to do that in Afghanistan. I think the problem is that a lot of folks don't realize that. I think there's still an idea in Afghanistan that we can have our cake and eat it too, that we can defeat the Taliban, that we can eradicate opium, that we can, defeat Al Qaeda, and that we can also have democracy. And you can't do all of that.
No.
You need to create allies, and to create allies and to break apart, the coalition that we're fighting against. You need to make hard choices in order to draw people to your side, and I don't think we're willing to do that in Afghanistan.
One of the very interesting points you made in your film was that Iraq is a tribal society, and therefore to work with that society, you must work with the tribal leaders and tribal groups.
Right.
And in our refusal to actually study the society, that was a real goof on our part, right?
Absolutely, and I think we've also, first off, I went there as a Marine in '04 thinking that, we were going to bring democracy and, carry the torch of liberty to Iraq. But I think what's really interesting is in making the film, I've learned not only are they a tribal society that may or may not be open to this, but we're very similar. We have elements of tribalism in our own society. And, and that was sort of really interesting to explore how similar we are.
Okay, thank you very much. This is Stuart Nussbaumer at Tribeca Film Festival with Zachary Iscol. His film is Western Front. Be looking for it. It's got great lessons in it.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.